Welcome to Brilliantly British. My name is Lawrence and today I'm going to show you how to make gourmet chicken burgers at home from scratch with a complimentary gravy for dipping. So as I show you how, please sit back, relax with a cup of tea in hand, putting those feet of yours up to, and enjoy this episode. And don't forget to subscribe. Already on the channel, we've shared our recipe for a beef burger and a salmon burger, both of which have been given the Brilliantly British treatment with results that we think you should judge for yourselves. In this episode, however, we'll be sharing a recipe for a seasoned chicken burger patty, topped with mayonnaise, our garlic chutney, and then sandwiched between our Dover white buns. And did we mention that all of this will be handmade from scratch? Step by step, you'll learn how to prepare this gourmet chicken burger with intuitive steps before we crown everything off as per usual with a session of tasting at the end. So now, with the introductions made and your interest peaking, please allow me to introduce the ingredients to you. For today's Brilliantly British chicken burgers, you'll need some lettuce, some tomatoes, some eggs, some corn flour, some breadcrumbs, a neutral cooking oil, some plain white flour, a lemon, a chicken, of course. You will need some parsley. You will need good quality strong mustard, some white pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, and you will need some burger buns. And this is where I will suggest our Dover white buns, the recipe you'll find should you follow the link up there in the corner. And these burgers will be taken to the next level should you choose to include our garlic chutney, the recipe of which you can also find up there. And please, let's not forget the addition of salt and pepper. And that, my friends, is all, yes, all that you will need for today's Brilliantly British chicken burgers. But before you get started, before you do anything at all, please switch on your kettles, brew yourselves a nice cup of hot tea so that you can sip on that whilst you cook. To begin preparing your gourmet chicken burger, beginning with the mayonnaise, in a bowl, place egg yolks followed by mustard, combining the two initial ingredients at first before trickling in your oil. Crucially, at the early stages, more oil should be added after any previous additions have been emulsified. But with time and persistence, the contents should thicken, with the result, once all of the oil has been used, being a simple mayonnaise now ready to be seasoned and flavored, namely with salt at first, then pepper, followed by a splash of lemon juice to add freshness, before the mayonnaise was transferred to a container and then set in the fridge, ready for later on. Now, to fillet your chicken, a filleting knife is recommended. However, a sharp kitchen knife would be up to the task. Starting along the spine, after choosing a side, gradually separate the flesh from the inner carcass, taking your time to leave little to no meat left on the carcass as you progress around the body until you reach the center of the chicken on the other side. After which, the aforementioned steps should be reflected on the other half of the carcass, making sure, of course, to neatly place all removed bones nearby, as they will be needed later on. The results at this stage should be a filleted chicken with legs attached, flanked by the wings, the inner carcass, as well as all of the other bones. Moving on, the wishbone was then removed before removing the legs, enabling me to then skin the breast fillets, also keeping the skin nearby, continuing thereafter by skinning the legs by nipping at connective points between the flesh and skin before removing completely with a little use of force. With the skin set aside, the thigh and drumstick were then separated at the joint with a clean cut. And with that done, the thigh bone was then exposed and removed, taking care to strip all of the meat off of the bone before turning my attention to the drumstick, which was filleted by exposing the bone at first and then carefully separating it from the surrounding muscle. The aforementioned steps for the first leg were then repeated for the second, with the result after filleting the whole chicken being 2 breast fillets, 2 thigh fillets, and 2 drumstick fillets, along with the skin and bones, which should be weighed, the meat and skin only, I might add, with 1% of that weight being measured in salt in preparation for seasoning. With the chicken meat and skin being momentarily set aside, the bones, if particularly large, were divided up and then placed into a pot with cold water, with the contents being heated to a gentle rolling boil, at which point all surfaced impurities were skimmed off, leaving behind a relatively clear liquid which was left to simmer in the background. To begin preparing the chicken burger patties, a handful of fresh parsley was destalked and tossed into a food processor, along with now coarsely chopped chicken skin. The measured amount of salt, a drizzle of oil, coarsely chopped lemon zest, and a mix of white pepper, onion powder, and garlic powder, which was blended together thoroughly to form a smooth paste. The paste was then turned out into a mixing bowl, which was momentarily set aside, allowing for the summoning of the chicken meat, which was coarsely chopped, then tossed into the food processor, wherein it was blitzed for a short period in order to find the right balance of smoothness and texture, which should take up to 30 seconds. With you feeling free to stop the machine and inspect the texture of the mince as you proceed. The mince was then turned out and combined with the set aside paste, forming an aromatic seasoned chicken mince. The mince was then finished with a small amount of breadcrumbs as a binder, and then, without resting on my laurels, with a scale covered with greaseproof paper, the mince was divided and gently pressed into a shaper, with care being taken not to overcompact the meat, as the mince was portioned, shaped, and set aside, with the result being these 4 perfectly shaped patties, which should be rested and chilled for at least an hour before handling and or cooking. Turning our attention now back to the pot of simmering bones, with a noticeably lower amount of liquid remaining, after simmering for at least an hour over a low heat, the white chicken stock was then extracted with a sieve before discarding the bones, with the stock being returned to the pot to reheat gently. With the addition of a cornflour slurry, the contents were then whisked constantly against the formation of lumps until the mixture thickens slightly whilst beginning to boil, at which point your hob should then be switched off, with a moment being taken to chop and add fresh parsley and, optionally, additional salt to perfect. With the sauce made and set aside, the burger patties were recalled after cornflour, egg washing and breadcrumbing stations were assembled. For the episode, one burger was coated only with cornflour, with the other being first flour coated, egg washed, then breadcrumbed, with care being taken so as not to break it apart. The patties were then shallow fried in pans of hot oil heated over a medium heat and turned over after a few minutes and once brown on one side. The patties were then cooked further on the other side and placed on boards to allow them to rest, leaving you with time to then toast your buns. To assemble the burgers, I chose to go with mayonnaise first on all the halves, with helpings of garlic chutney and a few vivid green lettuce or salad leaves, and then topped with your now rested chicken burger patties, a welcomed slice of tomato seasoned with a pinch of salt, before literally capping things off with the top halves, without forgetting our chicken and parsley dipping sauce. And so now, with gourmet chicken burgers made and your interest peaking, I think it's now time for tasting, tasting, tasting. Are you ready? Are you steady? 3, 2, 1. I rarely have experiences like this, and I didn't think I'd have such an experience such as this one. Perhaps I should better explain myself, because right now I'm just being very vague, but this is this is the best burger I've ever had. This is one of the best bites of food I've ever had. Everything just works in perfect harmony. I'm hysterical. I've got chicken gravy dripping down my fingers. Please allow me another bite, because no, it's a real experience. Permit me to start with the bun, which is so cloud-like. Need I say more? And then on top of that, it's like a sponge, which absorbs this lovely chicken parsley gravy. Speaking of the chicken parsley gravy, it is so Moorish, addictive, flavoursome, and yet subtle, not overpowering. There are no punchy flavors in it, but it just works perfectly with it. And then please, of course, I now arrive at the burger patty itself. The zing from the zest, the lemon zest, that immediately hits you. It's perfectly seasoned onion, garlic, black pepper powder, all in there, all balanced. It's well seasoned, it's not bland. An adequate amount of salt was added, and the garlic chutney. So I said thus far that everything hasn't been punchy, but of course something does need a bit of a kick to it, and the garlic chutney there in the background comes through and really does round everything off. It is amazing. I hope I've clearly demonstrated that. And this is just one of 2 burgers. Now I'm going to try the second one in 3, 2, 1. If ever I open a restaurant one day, and maybe I will, either one of these, perhaps both of them, must make an appearance on the menu. The breadcrumb crusted one is by far my favorite, because it's been breadcrumb crusted and has the extra added crisp, crunchy texture. That's it. I think I now need to sit somewhere and quietly, peacefully take all of this in. And look, with all of that being said, please, 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 my dear friends, my dear viewers, you've seen how simple, straightforward this is to make. So please go out, get the ingredients, make either one or both of these gourmet chicken burgers, because as you saw, it will be 110% worth it. So please, please, please make these burgers, please. Thank you, thank you, thank you all for allowing me to show you how to make gourmet chicken burgers at home with a complimentary chicken gravy for dipping. Knowing that you loved this episode, don't forget to click on the like button, the subscribe button, and the notification button so that you don't miss any of our new releases. Tell everyone, and I mean everyone, that you know about the brilliantly British food on this channel, and follow us on all of the social media platforms that this channel is on. Not forgetting, of course, to like, share, and subscribe as always. And I will see you